So on the eve of the 2020 American election, I thought I would stimulate your senses with some of my thoughts on the matter and hopefully help you grow some perspective. Maybe we can share some perspective on what's going on and what all of this means and what might happen. And my perspective is coming from someone who doesn't follow politics traditionally, but in 2016, well, on same time 4 years ago, on the 2016 election, I was like, I don't care who wins. Like, it's not gonna change anything, because that's how I've traditionally seen things. Like, it doesn't matter who you vote for; your vote really doesn't count. What happened in 2016, though, after Trump was elected, what got my interest was more of the psychological effect that it had on so many people, especially here in Australia as well. Yeah, so people were freaking the fuck out, and that got my interest. And subsequently after that, a few months after that, was the issue of trying to figure out whether the media is lying to you or not. And I know the media, sometimes couldn't be trusted, but here it was like with a distinct narrative, like they were all kind of getting in on the one thing. And it didn't take long to figure out that most of the media outlets were lying, and not outright lying, but telling half-truths and misleading by framing the narrative a certain way, or omitting a part of the story so that you don't get the full picture. So it's a lie by omission. Yeah, it still contains the truth, but the impression it gives is not one of reality, misleading and misdirecting. So I was trying to figure out, like, what do I do? Like, who do I listen to? And I had to figure out my own way of dissecting language that's out there and training my brain, like behavioral conditioning, training my brain to read in a certain way and pick up on certain words and analyze them and notice it when I'm using those words as well, and notice it when the media and other people use it too. I'm just talking about basic words like labels and stuff like that, yeah? Things that labels tend to divide people. So if you say male and female when male and female is not necessary to, when it's not necessary to mention someone's sex or gender, but they say male or female, then it's casting a division already in people's minds, in the subconscious, by putting information there that isn't relevant, isn't important to the conscious, but it's important to someone who's expressing that information. So by doing that, I was able to sort of slowly see who's being fair and who's not, and who's trying to subvert and who's trying to be deceptive. And what I think is going to happen with the 2020 American Erection is that the majority of votes will go to Trump, and he'll get a landslide of votes, but the media and political stimulation behind the scenes of this election, with the vote rigging and the vote tampering, election tampering, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff is going to make it seem like the results are going to say that it's more of a 50-50 split between Trump and Biden, which it isn't. You can see with the enthusiasm in people that are supporting one and the other, it's not there. The enthusiasm isn't there. I think there's going to be a great deal of people. Ooh, I don't know. I have to guess what's going on behind the scenes as far as what the will of the people is and what the will of the corporate media establishment and the old government is. And it seems to me, it doesn't seem to me, because the old established government types have openly admitted that they're committing voter fraud, and staff members of the political left, the radical political left, not the normal political left, but the radical socialist, Marxist, communist left, who have been brainwashed and indoctrinated, they've not openly, in secret, behind the scenes kind of recorded videos, they've admitted that they're going to commit acts of violence. They're going to take property from property owners. They're going to murder corporate business owners, and they're going to burn cities to the ground. And you've already started seeing some of this stuff happen. So if you're of the mindset that no, that can't happen, well, it's been happening for the last few months. They once they got a chance to take over Seattle, once the police stepped back, they took over fucking Seattle, and they messed it up. You had people in the span of a weekend. You had people being murdered, and you had multiple acts of sexual assault, and you had just a lot of craziness going on. Businesses fearing for their future, and residents fearing for their future, and just utter chaos. So that's just a glimpse of what they want to do. Now, like I said, they've openly admitted that they're committing voter fraud, and from the people that I've spoken to directly, online directly, and the things I've heard from people directly, whoever's going to be elected, if it ain't Trump, or even if it is Trump, they're going to try and overthrow it. So the mantra that I've heard is by any means necessary. So you take over, cause a revolution by any means necessary. And that means that even if Trump's opposition is elected into government, they're going to take control over that person. So Biden is just someone who they think is easy to control. They don't actually believe anything that the guy says. They think that he's a pushover, and that he can be knocked around and knocked over and easily overthrown. That's the mark of socialism and communism. Most of the time, and I'm not a politically minded person, not traditionally anyway. I've just tried to figure out what the social and what the psychological mindset of the masses is as it pertains to some political ideologies like socialism and Marxism. Marxism is a philosophy, but a political ideology, it all blends in together, and that's the kind of mask that they put over the entire radical left, so you can't actually see who is who or what is what, and you can't label them properly because the face of the mask keeps shifting, and the label that you use is like a blurred label between Marxism and communism and socialism and utopianism. No one uses utopianism, but that's like an underlying aspect of all of these ideologies, that they must sort of be equalized in some sort of way. And they won't tell you on the surface that, oh, this is socialism or communism, but by their actions and by their desires and by their requests, it's utopianism. And that lies at the bed of all these nasty radical leftist ideologies. Now they've, like I'm saying, they've openly admitted this shit. They just don't know that they've openly admitted it because they've been indoctrinated into thinking that it's okay. That it's okay to behave this way and think this way. And in 2016, it seemed as though the media had twisted people's reality so much that if anything occurred that was in opposition to their perceived reality, they would reject it. And that's what happened with Trump being elected. Whether you like the guy or not, the media had drummed up so much negativity about him that people literally thought that he was Hitler. They were literally saying, Trump is literally Hitler. So in order for you to get people to use the word literally in a figurative sense, you have to demoralize their logic and their rationality. You have to break down their logic and rationality, the kind of logic and rationality that forms the basis of what is right and wrong, and hence you get demoralization. You break down and twist the idea of good and bad and right and wrong, so that you could be in a completely peaceful state, but some sort of change that doesn't actually affect you fucks you up mentally, and it makes you feel as if, like, it puts you in a state of mind where you're going to reject that change. And that's what happened in 2016. And the media is complicit, and it's run by a small group of organizations, and they're feeding you the same overall narrative. Whether it's Fox News or not, they're feeding you the same overall narrative. And just spying on the traffic here. And they're complicit in creating this mentality where you're not going to accept what's going to happen. And they've preemptively not accepted what's going to happen. Yeah? They didn't accept what was going to happen. They didn't accept what happened in 2016 after the fact. Now it's before the fact. They've prepared for whatever the outcome is going to be. They're not going to be happy about it, and they're gonna take over cities. They're going to try to take over cities. They're going to try to take over corporations and established places of power that they perceive to be power, because really the power is within the individual. That's where the power is. And if you don't think that you can overcome it by triumphing over your own perception of suffering, then you're going to try and take someone else's power by any means necessary. She was very pretty. And that's what I think is going to happen. Like, no matter what happens, shit's going to get fucked up. Or people are going to try to fuck shit up. And the media expression of the results of this election are going to make it look like it's a 50-50 split. That's my prediction. When really it's going to be a landslide for Trump. And a landslide for Trump is what's needed to overcome this subversion of ideas that distort people's reality. If there's enough people around you saying, no, this is what's really going on, this is what's really going on, this is what my feelings really are. If there's enough people around you that can drown out the sound of the media telling you that crap, their own version of that crap, then your reality will start to change, right? So people's bubbles will burst. That's what's needed. Instead of this false idea that most people want, or 50% of people want communism, but it's not by the name of communism, and 50% of the other people are racist. That's essentially what the media is telling you, that 50% of people in America or around the world, even if you extend it a little bit, if you imagine it a little bit, that 50% of people in America are racist, and the rest of the world wants a one world, new world order government that rules over everyone without being able to selectively care for people on a small scale. They rule over everyone with a communist or Marxist or socialist bent. Now, I'll put it to you in an example with Jacinta Ardern, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, right? If you read her Wikipedia page, if you believe what's written on there, let's just assume what's on there is true for a moment. You'll read under the criticisms, or there's something there where someone in the media or a spokesperson or someone had said that Jacinta Ardern was a pretty communist, and the reaction to that was that it was sexist. They took offense to her being called pretty. Can you understand the demoralization going on there when you can call someone pretty and have them take offense to it, right? But not take offense to being called a communist, right? Can you see like the twisting of someone's mentality where you can ignore the outright lunacy of communism, because let's just say it's just as bad, if not worse, than Nazism, because historically it's killed more people than Nazism. Okay, so that's communism. Yeah, so communism should be considered a worse thing than Nazism if you want to count it by the number of people that died, right? Under its totalitarian dictatorship, whatever you want to call it, right? If you want to count it that way, and you want to count the atrocities, then it's just as bad, if not worse, than Nazism. But for some reason, in the social climate, in the social mindset, people don't think communism is a bad word, but it should be a fucking bad word. It should be a bad word, just as bad as calling someone a Nazi, right? They don't take offense to it though. They don't think that them being socialists and communists and Marxists is a bad thing, despite what's happened in history time and time and time and time again. But they'll take offense to the word pretty. Think about that, right? And think about the twisting of someone's mindset that has to occur for that reaction to take place. And that's what you're seeing with this entire stimulation of the American erection, however you want to perceive that, by stimulating it via voter fraud or stimulating it via media propaganda or whatever, you know. I just thought it was a funny play on words there, but love and peace to everyone, man. Whatever side you're on, even if you're not taking sides, I hope that there's no violence, and I hope that things can transition or be realized peacefully, and that no one is harmed. Realistically, though, I don't think that's going to happen. Realistically, I think shit's already hit the fan, and the fan's gonna keep turning and accepting more shit. But that's my take on it. And have a good day, folks, and send some more nudes. Thank you, love you.